Well, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, January the 24th, 2022, and it's a sad day for me because my Buccaneers lost and they're not moving on. So, it's not, the world is over as they know it. And but anyway, it's kind of payback time for Mr. Tom Brady because he's won so many games the last with a field goal at the end for those that know and understand football. But anyway, here we are. It's Monday morning. And man, we had MasterDay on Saturday, which was a really great event, very informative. And it's when I get into these positions of being able to or being asked to present and come up with an idea, it's man, we could spend a whole bunch of time on what we talked about on and what I talked about on Saturday, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take it a little bit further in a deep dive. So here we go. I'm going to share my presentation. And by the way, I had recorded, while I'm getting this up, I had recorded the MasterDay presentation um, beforehand. So it is up on daverolf.com and you can see it. So um, if you want to do it, the actual event recording I haven't received yet. And I'm pretty sure they're going to bounce that off the attorney because I might have said something that they didn't like, but that's beside the point. Okay, so here we go. Frequently asked questions, building a networking business with Nikken, and this is question number 4. It's how do I start to plan to get my Nikken business started? Um, this was kind of the idea that I got from reviewing what we did on Saturday. So, a deep dive. So we just did MasterDay. And today I want to cover in more detail what I presented. The following 6 points that were brought up can be the make-break point of success with Nikken, and they're extremely important. And so I want to take each one and see if we can add some more understanding and details and supporting information so that you can see and understand the importance for yourself, but more importantly, for those that you bring on, because it's a business about communication. And this should make a huge difference in what you do and the results that you get. And you will then become more attractive. This is an interesting viewpoint. Now I'll share that. Well, I'll do it now because I think it's important. And before I get into the want part, is that what you are presenting to somebody else, they're looking at you as the expert. They're looking at you as what you're trying to attract attention so that they respond to what you're operating. So the more knowledge you have, the more attractive you become to somebody else because what we're after are problems. So people have problems because they don't know how to solve them. And they constantly look at, what they, need to do to solve these problems. And so it becomes an interesting point that you are the problem solver, not the problem. Okay, number 1, what do you want? So in this category, you can't get what you want until you know what you want. I mean, this is a fascinating story. I've done some research on this, and if you try and figure out what you're doing something, but what are you doing it for, and it doesn't make any sense, and you don't really know where you're going or what it's all about. So this was the controversy between want and why, in the sense of why is after want. Want's first, why's second. So in other words, you can create a why based on what you want. And I don't care what it is that you're after and what somebody says your why is, it's still going to be a want of some kind. And if you identify that first, then the why is really simple. But and here's the interesting thing: you can actually decide on what you want to and go after it. So for example, you can decide to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, or you decide to get up at 10 o'clock in the morning. But everything we do, and this is really important, everything we do is based on a decision we made. Everything. I mean, everything. There isn't anything you can exclude from it. Everything is made based on a decision. Now, some of the decisions that you make are so quick, you don't even think about it. Like the decision to breathe or have the body breathe or to go to sleep or go to the bathroom, or all of those kind of things are kind of automatic things that you think are automatic, but I don't know if you've ever seen a dead person, but nothing's going on there. They're not being controlled, or they're not being manipulated to move that body because they're gone. So in this particular case, this is a business, this is a thing. So you can decide to make income. You can decide to have freedom to do what you want. You can decide to have the ability to enjoy your life and raise your family well. You can decide to help others. You can decide to retire. You can decide to travel more. But each of these has a cost factor. Unfortunately, in today's world, they're going to have a cost factor of some kind. I've tried, I work on budgets, but everything costs money today. So this is an important thing to keep in mind, because this is going to be the most common denominator in moving forward in what you do and what you talk about. So this was another aha that I didn't put in this, but maybe you caught it. Nikken is a business that distributes lifestyle products through a network of independent distributors. Do you notice that Nikken doesn't sell product retail? I'm just putting that out there just as maybe an aha. Oh, so why don't I do what Nikken does? And that was the idea I had very early on, was I'm going to do what Nikken does. They're setting up a distribution network, and of course I saw this when I first started many years prior to that. So, and here's the object of the game they're playing. The more products that consumers buy, the more money the company earns. What are they after? They're after profits, because they need the profits to keep the doors open, to keep the machine going, to provide the customer service, to do all of that stuff is going to cost. It has an economic factor. So what we want to make sure we get our wits around and our head squared in what we do in our approach is really important. So therefore, the more products that an independent distributor moves himself and or from those in his organization, the more the distributor can earn. So it was an interesting tweak at the beginning of my journey that I saw this. Now, I happen to see it many times prior to in other companies, and also as an independent businessman, that was the focus. So when one understands how the business works, what structure best delivers what's needed and wanted, and what methods should be used to get the desired end result one is after, then getting them is really easy. It's simply mapping it out and doing the required work. And our work is really not that difficult. So here's the analogy. If it takes 10 people to move the furniture in your home to another home, and you want to move, then you need to have 10 people to make the move, right? I mean, it's almost that simple. If it takes 100 people to make you $10,000 a month, then it takes 100 people. If it takes 500 people, it takes 500. It doesn't matter what it takes. What's important is to understand what it takes so that you can create that and build the right structure. So that was a big aha moment for me also, was just understanding what the company does, and then understanding my role within the company, and then opening up the door to understanding the rest of what needed to be understood. Now we're on the same. So let's use time freedom as the example. So you've been working your whole life or whatever, it doesn't matter. But what we really want to understand, what does this mean? We need a definition. Does this mean, work less? Or does this mean take more days off? Or does this mean the ability to do what you want when you want to do it? Now, in today's world, this means either your job needs to pay you so you can have more time freedom or that you want, or you need to do something that will. I mean, those are the two choices, right? So what then is the actual economic requirements that will allow you to get what you want becomes the real point of understanding what you want. And here's the other thing that's really important. You need to confront it. You can't hide it or bury it or not think about it or, well, I can't deal with that. It's too. No, you got to confront it, because when you confront something, you can actually deal with it and handle it. It's when you don't confront the issue that it becomes another issue. It starts to fester and really what's important is you got to understand what you really need to do. So here's a little bit of a helpful hint. Look at your monthly budget, relate that to your current income, and then look at what you want. And this should give you some kind of a number to play with. Okay. Now we know what Nikken will do. It'll give you a check when you create sales volume and qualify. So therefore, if you want that time freedom, if you want to help others, if you want to put food on the table, if you want to put a roof over your head, clothes on your back, whatever the case may be, and you want to do it because you like what Nikken stands for, just understand it's going to require some kind of cash flow. And it's got to come from somewhere, okay? And once you know how much that is, then you can learn the rest of the puzzle. You know, what to do, where to work, how you could earn, structure, and a lot. If you could mute, please. Thanks, June. So we'll deal with this stuff next, but here's what the first thing is. Write down what you want, then figure out the costs for that. And that's the number that you'll use for your goal. And I don't care what it is, because any goal can be achievable. So most people I knew when who made this work did this because of the economic success that could be created, and because of what they saw and the possibility that they would be able to do things they wanted to do but couldn't before. Okay, this statement is the statement that you want the people you're talking to get, to realize. In other words, in all of the people that I've talked to, all of the distributors I had, the bottom line, and I don't care what distributor it was, and I don't care whose organization it was in, is they kind of looked at this as a way to get what they wanted. And they kind of felt that if they did it, they could get it. Now, this was all pre them doing it and pre them getting it and pre everything else. But it was kind of like when I looked at it at first, it was, okay, if I put my nose to the grindstone here, this is what I want over here. Then if I go here and do the work, then I think I can make this happen. Now, what was next? So it's the product that allows us to build a business, okay? It's the product that allows us to build a good business to get what we want. But it's the business that we create that creates the energy, the fuel, the money required to do what we want. And it's not free for most. And this then understood gives you the ability to present to others. So if you want something, ask yourself this question. Is there anyone else in the same boat as me? And of course, this is vital, critical, important, necessary, a must, and the only way you will really make this work the best. In other words, whatever it is that okay, so I'll give you the example. So at the very beginning, I needed to make $8,000 a month. I had no income. I had no credit. I had lost in a business venture. It had gone south. The manufacturer went broke. You know that story. You've probably read it. So I was stuck. And then I looked at this opportunity, and people were selling product and doing this kind of thing. And I said, man, this is going to be for what I need to understand this a little differently. And then I realized I'm just talking to the wrong people. That was the big aha. I needed to talk to people who were in the same boat as I was. And we're going to understand that, because here's the deal on that. Reality, and when I say reality, I mean the stuff that happens, of you being on this event. The reality of you being on this event today has occurred because we have an agreement, or you're agreeing with what I'm saying. And it's our agreement. I'm agreeing that you should be on here to learn what you need to learn, and you're agreeing that you should be on here because you want to learn what you need to learn so you can get what you want. So the reality of you being here is based on our agreement. So if we look at the business, the reality of somebody joining your business is going to be based on the agreement between the two of you, and their agreement with the idea, and their agreement with the process, and their agreement with wanting to go after what they want. So again, when I saw that, okay, in the list that was on that presentation of George and Howard and Chuck, my first three guys, well, George needed a job, Howard needed a job, and Chuck needed a job. Well, okay, it was easy. That wasn't hard. I mean, I just went and looked for people who were in the same boat that I was. Now, somebody brought up something on the chat today about belief, And I thought to myself, well, yeah, you can play around with that if you want, but you don't have to. Because the belief that I was after was the belief that people needed to go to work and make money. So they were willing to take a look. And once they understood what it was easy. Okay, so there you go. So really understanding this want factor, why you want to do this, because when somebody comes in, you want to find out how important is what they want. Where can you direct them? And then more importantly, you know the rest of the deal, so you can show them how to get it. I mean, that was what we do. It's provide a solution. Okay, so let's look at the plan for a second. Learning the plan. So you saw what I did to learn the plan. I spent hours and hours talking to people, going over the plan, figuring out what they did, how they made it, that kind of stuff. And the key to is really getting the activity would create, understanding what activity created the most. And it was very apparent that when I started to look at the guys that were getting leadership bonuses, their checks were way bigger than the guys that were selling retail products. Just they were way bigger. And then there was that relation. Well, why are they way bigger? Well, there's more people. I mean, it's just an obvious factor. There's more people, and with more volume, there's more potential for commission. And then, then once you get a piece of paper and a pencil and you draw this thing out several times, it's not an arduous task to see where the money is. So the first step, and once you have your number for what you want to look, is to look at each of the income areas and then figure out what that means based on the method of choice. And this is really important because you only have so much time, you only have so much energy right now, and it's your effort that you're putting out now, today, to create what you want to create. And you want and I was one of those kind of guys. I wanted the line of least resistance. It was just a matter of figuring out what to say. That's all it boiled down to. So let's say that you wanted $10,000 a month, and this is simply an example to show you how each of these steps. And again, this I did in a video. You've already seen this in the couple of, I think it was the frequently asked question number 3, A and B. But so the answer will be in understanding what is required to be done and what your resources to get them done, and those are time, people, and money. Those are your 3 resources. So there are 2 ways to earn income: selling product or signing up distributors. But both activities, and this is important, require the same process. Both activities require the same process. So you pick up the phone. Hello, hey, Mrs. Jones, blah, blah, blah. I want to talk to you about my product. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I want to talk to you about my opportunity. Same thing. You're communicating. That's how we do everything, is through communication. So what I saw early on was like, okay, I can spend my time going down one road and I can do fine, or I can spend my time doing this and oh my goodness, what can happen? And I sold traditional stuff, not necessarily just this product, but I sold other products that gave me that perception of, what was do you want to be the single guy doing it, or do you want to delegate your responsibilities and sign up a bunch of people and have them help you? And the latter, once I saw that, was like, oh my God. Holy cow. Look at what can happen here. And again, if you look, and here's the other viewpoint that's important to you. Look at the number of people that were on this call on Saturday. All of them are distributors for Nikken, okay? And just imagine if those were all in your group. Just imagine that. That's what it's all about, okay? And what would happen if they were, and then now it's just figuring out how do you get there. Well, it's simple. It's just ask, you're just simply asking questions. So anyway, you can easily figure it out by looking at each area and see what would be required to be done to earn the desired amount. Okay. So we see retail pays 20% personal rebate. You earn 20% on the CV, so you can sit down with a calculator and figure it out if you wanted 10. But I'm going to cut to the short here and get to the quick, because that's where we're at. It's the leadership bonus area. That's where it's at. Now, if you look at, for example, Team Tai Chi, sounds like it's a great deal, okay? It's a wonderful trip, okay? Blah, a lot of stuff. So it only requires 80,000 points over the course of a year. So figure out what's the value of that is compared to the leadership bonuses of 6%. So if you spent your time building this, you'd probably win 5 of these trips versus spending your time focused on this to get 1 trip. Yeah, I mean, it's just all it is a matter of where you focus your attention, what you understand, and how you put it together. And that's what gave me a bit of an edge in talking to somebody else, because here's the deal. The average income in the United States is $76,000 per household. The average income in Canada per household is $100,000. Okay? So if you're trying to get somebody to, and obviously don't get the average thing confused. I mean, you can have a whole bunch of guys making millions and a couple of guys and a whole bunch of people making, $5,000 a month, and you get an average that's $76,000. That's, again, don't get that thing screwed up. But the point of the matter is you want to be realistic in your communication about what you do and what's available. So if you're, so again, and this is where people have fallen off the turnip truck and are not doing what they need to be doing, is they're not talking about potential. They're just talking about what you do. And they're trying to get the emotional needs that people have to be the lead for what this is all about. The feel good and the high fives and the hugs and the kiss, all of that good stuff. That's great. But it doesn't put food on the table necessarily all the time. Just depends on what you do. So in the video, frequently asked questions A and B, I'm new to this. How does it work, and how can I earn a living? I give an example of this $10,000 per month, and spend some time with that. And then there's other videos on daverolf.com about understanding the compensation plan, how it works, what you make, all that sort of stuff. Spend some time with that. And from experience, building a network is going to give everything you need. Everything. Because if you ask somebody to join you in the business and they say, no, I'm not interested, then guess where you get to go from there? Well, I'm sure that you like and understand our product. Everybody in the world is dehydrated, and everybody sleeps every night, and 70% are having a hard time sleeping, so you'll get customers, is what I'm trying to say. So if you go from the top and work down, it's much easier than starting at the bottom and trying to work up. Just in the sense of a thought process of understanding the concept so that you focus your attention in the right thing. So if you go after that, you will get your customers, you'll get your independent distributors while doing the activities that are known to work. Okay, now learning what all the aspects of the plan are will allow you to maximize your efforts and get the most out of doing this. So second month in the business, worked with George. You saw the schematic. Worked with George. We went down. We found Jay. Jay found Al. We went down 7 levels. We created 43 distributors. I think now that I look back at it, I found a copy of my check and a volume and all that sort of stuff. And I think we did about 49,000 points and you had to do 40,000 to go silver. So 3 of us piggybacked on the volume that was created on the 4th level. And then I won a trip to Japan. Now, in the sense of where the focus was, I didn't focus on winning the trip. I focused on building the network that would create an income that would then, and then the side benefit was, oh, and by the way, I got this trip. And by the way, I couldn't go on the trip because I couldn't afford to spend any money. I had more important things to do. But again, what's important? Now, if what's important is your life's all set up, you got your retirement money taken care of, or you got your income basis, and you want to earn some extra trips, then fine. Then that's where your focus is. See how to play that game. So again, it's really important. So, and the fun is in the journey. You get all the prizes you want along the line by building an organization of independent distributors. And these are individuals here's the thing. These are individuals that want to solve a problem, handle an issue, or get something they desire or need and want. And they're serious about doing that. I remember Julie. We went to a meeting, and I was there with the meeting, giving the meeting with Reed Nelson, and she was in the front row, and her, I mean, her eyes were big as, light bulbs, and wow. So what she saw something, and what she saw then allowed her to think, allowed her to process it, and allowed her to move forward. Nobody had to do anything to get her to see, understand, believe, whatever. It was her job to do that. And that's how we made this business work, is by just exposing the solution. Now, so if you talk to people that have problems, obviously you guys know very well, because of the thrust that most are on is the retail side and looking for customers that have owies and problems and challenges and all that sort of stuff. And that's fine. That's really cool, and you know how it works. So when they get a result, they stay with it, they buy more, they do more, they maybe share it with their friends. So again, these are all on the same line. It's just a matter of which line that you want to talk on to get what it is that you want. Okay, let's go on. How does it all work? So we heard that it works by word of mouth. It works when somebody gets a benefit and they tell somebody else. It works when you do the business and you've got a result and you share that with it. Or it works when you get out there and talk to people. I mean, that's really how it worked, because I didn't have the results. I didn't have a product testimony. I didn't have an economic benefit. I just knew that if I talked about problems and presented solutions, that it would work. And that's what happened. So you don't have to have economic success for you to create economic success. You just have to have the right posture, the right desire, and the right intention, and the right communication, because it comes down to that, what we will see very shortly. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. That's the whole deal here. And again, the bottom line is find out what others need or want, and we'll run through that. Okay. It's okay. We're all about communication. That's it. That's all we do is communicate. I don't care how else anybody says what we do, but that's all we do. We find people to talk to. We find out what's going on with them. We find a problem, a situation, a desire, whatever the case may be, and then we figure out how to get them to see that they could get what they want by doing Nikken. Now, here's something that also was really important. Not everybody's going to play with you. Get used to that one. Not everybody's going to play with you, and that's fine, because you don't want everybody to play with you in the sense of doing the business, because if everybody's playing with it, it would be over, and this wouldn't be an opportunity, and it's the usual story, right? But I mean, it would be ideal if more people would play with you, but I found 6 people in my career that wanted to play with me. And then they in turn did their thing, and we'll understand how that works. And then I ended up with 3. That was it, 3 in the long run. So it's all based on communication, finding out what's needed and wanted, followed by the ability to present, okay? That's where it is at, is your ability to present to somebody else so that they can see it, so they can understand it, so they can figure it out, so they can cognite on it, so they can realize what's going on, so they can look at it and say, ooh, interesting. Yeah, man, I could see whatever the case, that's what the communication's for. And your persistence, and just going out there and okay, I just challenge you all, do this for 8 hours a day for the next 90 days. And see what kind of incredible results you'll create. It's just, those were the 2 reasons why I observed that people didn't have success, is they didn't do what they're supposed to do, and they didn't learn what to do, and they didn't do enough of it. So compared to those that did, because the ones that did all that stuff, they went to work. So in other words, go to work. That's the see, here's the beautiful thing about going to work. When you go to work, you can see what works and what doesn't. Versus not going to work and trying to think about what works and what doesn't. See, you can't think about that. It actually is one of those, you have to actually get out there and do things, okay? Okay, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. A huge aha moment, and I knew this from somewhere else. This is why I made the video, take a look, and based on that. But that's it. I mean, if I look at Ralph and Jerry, now Ralph was a commercial real estate developer. He had owned many beauty salons. That was his upbringing and how he made it all over the city of Los Angeles. And he was retired building a multi-million-dollar home in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. Okay. Now, looking at him, I kept driving by his house and I saw this guy with the construction hat on, and I thought, well, that's the general contractor. I didn't know who lived there or anything like that. And I had this problem in my house. And so I didn't have that guy on my list. I wasn't going over to see him to prospect him. Although I might have had a thought, well, I wonder if he'd be interested, that kind of, you always have those thoughts when you're in the business. But anyway, the conversation started on the basis of I needed somebody to fix my problem. So I go in, I introduce myself, I'm looking for the owner. He says, well, that's me. Hi, my name's Ralph. I'm your neighbor up the street, blah, blah, blah. So we have this wonderful conversation, and then I finally get to, I was looking for a contractor because I have this electrical issue, and he said, well, let me come and take a look. Well, he fixed that in 2 seconds. Now, this is another interesting story. He fixed it in 2 seconds because he knew what to do. I didn't. See, I couldn't get it done because I didn't know what to do. He got it done because he knew what to do. Very interesting lesson, but anyway, we move on. So I said, well, how much is that going? No, don't worry about nothing. Well, I didn't like that idea. I figured there's got to be some kind of exchange, so I gave him some Nikken product. And he said, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And off we went, and he went on his way, I went on my way. Now, we weren't socially connected yet. A month later, there's a boxing match pay-per-view on TV, and he has a bunch of people over, and a Nikken distributor shows up at his house and sees the product and says, where did you get that? And he said, well, I got it from my neighbor. And he said, God, that's very expensive stuff. Nice neighbor. All of a sudden, the bells went off in his head for whatever reason that connection was. And he and his wife had a life issue that they'd been working on trying to solve, but they didn't know how to do it. Okay, there's the problem. So he calls me up and he says, well, what do you do, Dave? Now, that's my favorite response line. What do you do, Dave? Because that gives me carte blanche to get into this. Rather than you barfing over everybody telling them what you do, you want to get them to ask you what you do. Then that's your license to go ahead and do it. Anyway, we did that. Now, as it turns out, what I'm telling him, he's taking home and telling his wife, Jerry. And they got a secret meeting, not secret, but they have a meeting going on between the two of them about what's being discussed. And then here's what it all boiled down to. She worked in corporate America. She had an hour-and-a-half commute every day. She wanted to get out of her job and be at home and help him with the house and spend time because they were a little bit older, but they didn't know how to transition. Okay, bingo. Well, how much time do you have? Well, we have 7 months to do this. Okay, well, this is what we could do. I knew the plan. I knew the strategy. I knew what work had to be done. If you did this, blah, 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 in 7 months you could have this, blah, blah, blah. And that was a platinum distributorship with 3 golds and an income of, I think, $5,000 to $6,000 a month at that time. And so they looked at that plan and they said, okay, this could be a solution. So she quits her job, she gets her severance package, and they go to work. I mean, they go to work. Not that they'll think they'll do this. They went to work as she knew how to work. And he knew how to work because he had worked, to get the job done, and then they became platinum. So each of these individuals that got involved, it was based on either solving a problem, fulfilling a need, or a desire. And when they saw that they could possibly get what they wanted by doing this, that was the key. That was the key. What did I have to provide? I had to provide them with the information in some way, shape, or form. Well, today we got so much of it, it's unbelievable. So the takeaway here is that your results depend on how you approach someone and the questions you ask and the direction you take. So here's another hint. You're not looking for those that won't or those that disagree with you, or those that don't believe in what you do, or get rid of the negativity as much as you possibly can. You're looking for those that will. This is a funny statement, but you're looking for those that will. And those that need to and want to survive will seem to be the best candidates. Not everyone will play or should play. Your frontline partners need to be on the same page as you are and not forced into it either, or convinced. You usually have to convince them that they wanted what they want is doable, and that's easy. So that's where you convince them, not to join, but to see what it is that they can do is there. That's your understanding of the plan. I would focus definitely on income, and you will have a much easier time finding distributors and building a team. Okay, the potential. Where the heck are you going? So you're a distributor service business, you're the CEO, and your job is to solve problems and get results. So the potential of doing Nikken is truly unlimited. It all depends on your dreams, desires, how much work you're willing to do and to make it happen. Now here's the key. You expand and grow by delegation. Okay, so any of you that are corporate inclined or have worked for corporations or structures, you know that the hierarchy of most corporations, they have the CEO, then they have the president, then they have the vice presidents, then they have the managers, then they have the field managers, then down to the worker, right? And they grow by delegating responsibility to more and more people. Well, when you create a leader and they become an independent, like a silver, gold, whatever, and they repeat what you do, you're delegating responsibility here. And this is delegation, and this then creates the expansion and growth you need to meet your goals. So I couldn't have done what I did without having all kinds of people underneath me helping me. Okay? And here's a helpful hint. Find some good books on being a CEO. That would be a big help, if you're looking at doing this, and understand their thought process and how they look at things and how they do things. And I had that experience prior to getting involved. So I knew that, okay, if I wanted to grow, then that's the way I had to go. Okay. So we got this, we already did this. And again, this is the theoretical distributorship. And this is what's really important to get your wits on is the 6 create the 6, create the 6, or the 3 create the 3 that create the 3, or the 5 that create the 5 that create the 5. It's duplication, but just by sheer numbers, this third level here of 216, they're doing the same thing that you did. It's just more of them are doing it. That's it. That was it. That was the aha moment. Aha. Okay. So I just need to get more doing what I'm doing. And then we went through that process. So that's the general gist here. So what's the activity to do? You need to sponsor individuals, but I want to really drill down on this. I just want to see that. Okay, so it's what here? It's in this section, and I'm going to move on to this slide here and start here because this is what's really important to understand. When you build depth, you build a team. And when I sponsored George, and he needed to earn a living, he needed to make money. He was in between gigs, and he liked, what the Nikken plan was. He had some familiarity with the idea of what they did, and that was easy. So what did he have to do? Well, he had to do the same thing I had to do. He had to find people to put on his team. Okay? But together, the two of us working in collaboration made that hunt, so to speak, much more pleasant. In other words, being at home by yourself can be kind of a lonely business to do. Being in an office where you got other players it's a lot more fun. Well, when you have team members that are on the same page, it creates the same kind of atmosphere. You hear on the chats all the time of, I like to be a part of this team, or you got all these groups being formed up of various teams. Well, the idea is to have that in one group. So Dave finds George, George finds Jay finds Al. We're all on the same team. These guys are all on my team. And then for the guy above me, whose name was Clay, we were all on his team. And then for who was above there, Reed, we were all on his team. So it was kind of like the team all in one level. This is what we would call a leg. So, but here's the power of where the team goes. You see, when you help build George, when I helped build George, then we got more people involved. When Dave, George, and Jay helped each other, we had more people involved. When we got in Al, we had, so we ended up with the 43 distributors. Now I think it was 49,000 in volume. The Dave, George, Jay, and Al all went silver. Well, put in today's numbers. So let's say that you're trying to build some teams. So you sponsor your best friend George, and then you tell George what this is. You show him he wants to make the money, etc., etc. So he buys his $500 to $1,000 worth of product, because everybody's should have a PyMag water filter, and everybody should have a sleep set. They got to have something they can talk about. I mean, I spent $3,500 when I started. I borrowed my mother-in-law's credit card. It was a business decision, okay? It was business. It wasn't an emotional, oh boy, should, and again, there's a difference in how you present this, but anyway, if you do it, they'll do it, kind of a concept. So let's say $1,500 per person. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 50. There's 6,000, just like that. I mean, people should today be popping a silver every 2 weeks. I mean, just think if Dave got 2 people or 3 people or 4 people, and George got 2, 3, or 4, and Jake got, because as I said on Saturday, we got to up our game. You got to understand what's required to get up to the levels that you want to get up to. And that's not, they're not large, they're not huge, they're not astronomical by any stretch of the imagination. They're nowhere near what we had to do, and it's much easier to do it, and so on and so forth. But there's the concept, guys. That's the idea that that's how you build depth. You create a team. Now, once this team's in place, okay, now you got a story. Now you can tell somebody else what to do and how to do it, because you got the examples. It's yours, not somebody else's. And that was the whole thing. So I did this with George, and then I went on to Howard. And I brought in Howard. He was my second level. I haven't drawn this out, but Howard came in. We did the exact same thing. We went down several levels, and he went silver the next month, and then Chuck came in. All right, structure. Okay, so this is the idea. Now, here's the funny thing about structure. This isn't taught in school. This isn't advertised publicly, and most people don't learn the structure of a network marketing business. So when you talk to them about it, most people are going to go, they're going to be dumb about it. They're not going to know what you're talking about. So you got to have pictures. You got to show them how it works. That was, it was used to, in the old days, it was the napkin presentation of drawing the circles. That was the key issue there. But a picture says 1,000 words. So again, the person says, well, I need to make $5,000 a month. Well, then draw the picture for them. Let them see what it is, and it'll all boil down to 3 people. You have to find 3 people. And you saw in the A and B of the frequently asked question one that you get your 3, and then you help and teach that concept. Now, it doesn't go 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 by 3. That's a big, that was a joke, in my opinion. But it was the concept of that worked. So with George, we went down 7 levels and got 43. But those 43 did what they did and made 4 of us silver, if you get the drift here. So again, it works. So there's your structure. There's you as a team. There, you're sponsoring, you're retailing, and you got these independent groups, and that's where the dough is. Okay. And again, like I said, it's success. There is no such thing as failure here, because everything is based on you doing something and learning something. So what you don't understand, you won't do. What you need to do is learn what to do, and then go do it, and just do enough of it based on who you are and your circumstance. And not everybody's got the same circumstance. Mine was mine, yours is yours, and so on and so forth. But I have seen that people with varying and different circumstances can make this go right. The key to them is, how hungry are you to get what you want? Okay. So what do you do? Well, number one, really understand what you want for yourself and to explain to some other people. Really understand the compensation plan so that you know where to spend your time and your effort and your energy. What's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck? You know, how does it all work? Well, focusing on the right activities, building a team, creating depth, understand the structure. What's the potential here? That's your motivation. You know, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's really all based on doing. And again, it's do, and away you go. So there you go. Thanks for being on today. Hope this helps. A little longer than normal, but um, thank you for being here. We'll stop the share. And there we go. Okay, so we will now end the recording, and we'll go into our Q&A, and we'll see you next time on the Nikken Highway. Talk to you soon.